Erik, what is Sid the Sloth even from?
He's from the Miami Hurricanes, or I guess before that, the Georgia Bulldogs. If you can't tell, we're talking college quarterbacks, in particular, the ones entering the draft that the Browns might just have their eyes on this year. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Should the Browns once again draft a quarterback? Noah, how are you feeling?
I am feeling like we shouldn't waste draft capital on a quarterback. If you haven't seen yesterday's video, I do 110% believe in the idea of going after a free agent or maybe attacking the trade market and going that route in terms of competition for Shedeur Sanders this year. Deshaun Watson is emergency number 3 QB for me, so I don't even want to talk about him. But to me, wasting draft capital, unless it's like a day 3 pick and we don't have day 3 names in this video, it just doesn't make any sense to me because we
What?
already did this. What do you think?
You don't think we have day three names in this current video? We're
What
gonna break
date?
it
Well,
down in a second, but I
maybe,
strongly
maybe,
disagree with that take.
maybe. Actually, now that I'm scrolling and looking at the second slide you so generously made, Eric.
Yeah, I disagree, but listen, here's the thing. My question is, are we going to have 6 quarterbacks under contract? Like we already have 3. What exactly are we going to do? Even when we talk about trading for a guy, picking somebody up in free agency, that's all well and good, but it's kind of a busy room, and I know that happened last year too, and we see what that resulted in, but I don't know. It's like we're trying to do quarterback by committee, and that clearly doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Kevin Stefanski to give us a good old call. Say, Andrew, my boy, my friend, I need my son back. Give me Dylan Gabriel. I'm just waiting for that phone call.
Well, after week 1 when it's we've got to do better. I've got to do better. Maybe he makes that call. Let's jump in though to the college quarterbacks that are coming out into the draft. This is not an exhaustive list, of course, but the 6 that are most likely to get drafted highest, starting with one Fernando Mendoza. Noah, allow me to just jump in real quick and go first. It does not matter if I want him, I like him, what he's done in college, because he will be an Oakland Raider and not a Cleveland Brown.
Well, he won't be an Oakland Raider because that is no longer the franchise's name. He will be a Las Vegas Raider.
That's
And yes,
fair. I'm like,
yes,
"Wait, they do have the number 1 pick?" Yeah, yeah, fair.
no, yes, you are totally right, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're not a Mendoza guy. And I don't know if you can really discredit the body of work Mendoza has had at this point. If you look at it through the 12 games he had in the regular season, plus the postseason run, plus the Big Ten championship, taking hits, kicking ass, taking names. Yes, he's a little corny, he's a little out there, but he has put it all on paper and then some to enjoy and to want and to deserve the number 1 overall pick. It's just not going to the Cleveland Browns because we'd have to sell the committee. We'd have to give up like Miles Garrett, 3 firsts, Andrew Barry's grandmother, Denzel Ward. Yeah, the list could go on and on. The Raiders are not moving off of this pick, in my opinion, unless it's for a king's ransom. And I don't want us to give up a king's ransom regardless. So, no, it's not going to happen. Would I potentially be really interested in him if there was a chance? Yeah. He put together a great body of work in his final year at Indiana, including going undefeated and becoming a national champion.
The only thing I wanna add is I think I'm gonna have cookies made that just say the word "words," so that you can eat your own words more often, because you thought Dante Moore was the best quarterback, who, by the way, isn't even in the draft. You have changed your tune to your credit, but I was clear from the beginning. Fernando Mendoza looked like the guy this year. He's poised in the pocket. I know you're shaking your head. You know it's true. He was poised in the pocket. What a brave performance in that national championship game, putting his body on the line, literally. By the way, refs were absolute dog shit. You got to call that out real quick because we've got to change this and get better refereeing. But he put his body on the line. That play, that run, and that dive into the end zone is one of the better college football plays in the national championship I can remember in a while.
I don't think I need to eat my words on this one because I was still high on Fernando Mendoza. I just like Dante Moore better, and he's now not in this draft class. That one's not really on me, dog.
Okay, if
But
he were in this draft class, though, would you
oh,
want
it would
more
still be
over
Fernando
Mendoza? Yeah,
Mendoza, but I
exactly.
got my
Eat
cop
your
out. It
words.
doesn't matter. Let's move on to Ty Simpson. Ty
Uh-huh.
Simpson, Alabama quarterback, 28 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio. He is averaging 7.5 yards per attempt, 63.9% completion percentage, and he's 23 years of age. The son of a coach. He was the apple to many, many, many people's eyes at one point. He was a Heisman candidate at one point. And then about mid to late October hit, there was some injury rumors, and he did not play the same that he played for the rest of the season. He did declare. He was the first quarterback to declare in this draft. A little undersized. I believe he's 6'1", 6'2", which isn't like, your 6'5", 6'6", Mendoza size. What do you think about Ty Simpson, man? Because I think he's an interesting prospect, but I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw progression from him over the years, but he was only a starter for every game this past year, and it makes it tough to understand what we have in one Ty Simpson, right? His completion percentage has grown year over year, but again, his main body of work would be this past year, 64 and a half, a little over 3,000 yards, 3,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, like we were talking about. I don't know that I'm huge on him. I don't think he moves the needle in any measurable way. I don't think he fits what we have right now as in terms of scheme and personnel. Obviously, we're going to be adding to that. There's nothing about him that really excites me.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a little bit of shock, and it's because of the even in the limited body of work when you look at Tyler Shuck or you look at the larger body of work with Jackson Dart. Those were two names that I just weren't high on for the Browns in last year's draft, and they both look like they could end up being solid after the time that they played in the league. And Ty Simpson kind of feels like he's falling into that bucket for me. So maybe I'm overlooking him because he's not top 10, top 5 in my mind. But at the same time, I have the Brown shock of we love to draft a quarterback in the late 20s and try to make it work out. Insert Colt McCoy, Brandon Whedon, Johnny Manziel. The list goes on and on. Or you could go even into the second round if Ty falls that with like Deshaun Kaiser, for example. So to me, I think that's where my scared comes from him. That and the injury and not knowing for sure the body of work that he had. But he had a strong start, strong rebound to his season. They started out, didn't they lose to like Florida State or Boston College in week one or something like that? And then he bounced back and looked awesome for weeks on end until he got hurt. So there's a lot of different layers here. He is a gamble for sure. I don't know if he's a gamble that Andrew Barry, I almost said Andrew Luck for some reason, maybe I'm thinking about the gambling side, but I just don't know if he's a gamble that we're willing to take going into this next year.
Absolutely not. Right now, it looks like he's being projected as going middle of first round, possibly to the Jets. That is way too high for us. Way too high. Like beginning and stop there. No more needs to be said.
Even if he falls to pick 24, our Jaguars pick, say he's there, what do you feel about him?
No,
What if
absolutely
he
not.
falls? What if he falls to the second round? Say the first pick or the sixth pick, I guess, in day two.
No, he's got to fall to the fifth round.
You're that low on him.
It's not that I'm that low on him. I think we have higher need. I don't think he's an immediate impact starter for us. We have need at O line. We have need at wide receiver. This does not check the box in anywhere that we need. So if we're wasting a pick that high, day two, even day three, I think that's a completely wasteful pick.
Hey, that's totally fair. I'm the guy who came out and said before we got into this list that I don't want to spend high draft capital on a quarterback this year. But in the same way, I want to play devil's advocate because I do think Ty Simpson is a very intriguing prospect when you're looking at it, in the all 32 lens, not just the Cleveland Browns lens. I do think he's really interesting. I just don't know if we're the right fit for him or he's the right fit for us.
Let's move on though to Trinidad Chambliss because this kid is one of the most intriguing. I don't know if he'll even be in the draft. Will he be able to go back to college? He's suing the NCAA right now. For the record, that does not normally turn out well. Um, this is a kid though that came onto the scene out of nowhere and lit it up. He is exciting to watch. Look at his numbers. I know the body of work is small, but really impressive for that small body of work. And I should say it's small, but I mean, Ty Simpson only really played this year too, so it's not that crazy. I feel like there's upside here, and I really like the heart of this kid, but there's so much on the question mark side as well. What do you think of Trinidad?
Trinidad, as a sports fan, I love him. I love the sideline story with his mom and praying with his mom before the games. And the fact that he went from D2 to D1 speaks to me as a D3 guy. There's so many different things about Trinidad that I love him. I love the work ethic. It's a lot of the tangibles, I guess, that I really like with him, the ability and the want to succeed and be better and be the best possible. But there are a lot of question marks. You mentioned the NCAA angle of everything to deal with him. You also mentioned, well, you didn't mention, but I want to mention the fact that he's listed at 6'1", but there's rumors he's really like 5'10, 5'11", which undersized quarterback in the AFC North. We've already seen this. It doesn't really pan out well. So I'm curious about his measurables. If he ends up going to some of these senior bowls or the Shrine Bowl, or I forget the other names, I would be really interested to see what he puts on out there and if he can make his stock rise, because I think he made his name pop because of the run that Old Miss went on. So he's intriguing to me. That being said, he's such a hard gauge of where he's going to end up falling in this draft, where I would never feel comfortable taking him like second or first round, at least not right now. I think the best thing for him and the reason he's fighting the NCAA is for him to go back and get another year under his belt at Ole Miss.
Yeah, this is the type of guy that you stick on the bench to learn for several years. I think he has upside. I mean, he has elite athleticism. His burst and open field acceleration has been fantastic. He throws an absolute rocket on deep balls with velocity and touch that looks incredible, especially for his lack of experience. And he's shown really high composure, too. I mean, what more can you want out of him? If I were a team like I don't know, a Green Bay maybe, draft him as a backup, sit, learn, develop over a couple years. Green Bay might be a bad example, but you get what I'm saying. Maybe with an older quarter, maybe an LA Rams actually would be a decent situation for him.
Well, the
Uh,
problem is if Stafford is done after this season, if they go all the way, or maybe he gets the itch. This isn't a Rams channel, but yeah, I
but you
get what
get
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying. Yeah.
I agree with you. Yes.
An older quarterback or even a Ravens kind of team where you don't know what's going to happen with Lamar next. They need to make some decisions. I think it's likely he becomes a Raven, but they really need to restructure him. So
You know who he reminds me of in last year's draft, and not play style wise, but just where he kind of falls in this whole thing, Eric?
who's that?
Jalen Milrow, who was an intriguing prospect. I think me, you, and John, our co-hosts at the time, were all kind of like, yeah, I could see it in like day two, maybe a third, fourth rounder on, maybe. I see him in that same slot where he's intriguing, but just like Seattle's doing with Milrow right now, yes, 100% he needs to sit and learn and develop for a longer period of time.
And you see that in his work as well. I just extolled his virtues, but we've also seen his short and intermediate accuracy waver, and when he's throwing from the pocket. I mean, he misses open receivers and routine timing routes. That those are things that come with time and with experience. So, yeah, not a guy again that you're going to plug in as a day one star. I think if we're going to draft another quarterback yet again, he's got to be a guy that's going to compete and potentially be a day one starter. I'm not saying he's taking over that job for Shedeur, but he damn well better be able to compete in camp, and it's going to be a 1-2 situation. I just don't see that out of any of these guys, with the exception maybe of Mendoza, who obviously we have no chance of.
Right. And it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with his story anyway. If he ends up going to any of these senior bowls or tries to fight it for as long as possible to go back to Ole Miss. So he's a wild card, but he could be a fun wild card for this class nonetheless.
Let's move on. At the top of the show, we joked about Sid the Sloth. That's because people call Carson Beck Sid the Sloth from Ice Age. Carson's interesting. You know, what I found most interesting when I was doing my research on him, I thought he was old as hell because we see those posts about he was in the same class as so and so who's been in the NFL for 3 years now. Carson Beck's only 23 years old. He's the same age as most of the people on this list. Give me your take though on this pocket passer and whether or not you think there's any room for him for our team or in the NFL in general.
Well, I think he'll get picked up. I mean, he has some of the intangible traits. You're talking about the height, the weight, the experience. Really, experience goes a long way in the NFL. Dante Moore is a great example of that. Maybe just because of the fact that he only played 1 week or 1 year, getting some more reps under his belt, he wants to feel more ready for the NFL, and that's Dante Moore. But with Carson Beck, of course, he's played everywhere. He was at Georgia, now he's at Miami. Lost in the national championship through an interception to lose the game. He just doesn't do it for me, and maybe it's the lifestyle, maybe it's the NIL era, maybe it's the distractions with him and a adult actress. I don't know what else to really call her. What names
Who?
are out there? You haven't seen that? The girl that gets shown up? Yeah, do your own
Bro,
research.
I
I'm not.
cannot keep up with Carson Beck's Snapchat girlfriends. Like, there's 50 of them.
And part of it's a meme. Like, I don't think they're officially dating, but I'm throwing this all in the bag of Carson Beck. I'm good. I'm just all right.
But
I'm
I think you
fine.
make an interesting point because I feel similarly, and I think it is more the character, the person, the lifestyle than it is the quarterback because Carson Beck is a pocket technician. He stands confident behind pressure. He has good ball placement. I mean, there's some issues there. He has good arm strength. His deep ball accuracy has been inconsistent and problematic, honestly. It's not where it needs to be even though he has that strong arm. And then his mobility, he has trust issues that we've seen. Is he going to make a smart decision? He's really susceptible to inside pressure that forces early releases, that sort of thing. That's kind of the negative. But I think there are a lot of positives for Carson Beck. I kind of tend to agree with you though. The profile, the life, the aura around Carson Beck, I think, nah, want nothing to do with it. He's not good
Yeah.
enough to put up with any of that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the biggest knock on him and why he'll fall despite having some of the tools. I mean, you could use a lot of different examples out there of this, and Shedeur could even be one of them, even though Shedeur himself really isn't that big of a personality. He's viewed that way, so it made him slide as the explanation that we got from that whole situation. But to me, Carson Beck doesn't really do it for me. And especially talking about adding to a crowded QB room, I don't think he's going to come in and compete to start week 1. And I think, like you've said, that's kind of the conversation we're at right now is we want to bring in a guy who is either going to compete with Shador or beat out Shador for that starting job.
Yeah, he is a day 2 guy, certainly. Definitely not a day 1 guy. Let's move on to Garrett Nussmeier. He is the son of NFL quarterback Doug Nussmeier. So he kind of turned heads when he returned to LSU. What's your take on Nussmeier and where he fits in this draft?
This whole slide, so the next one, and we'll get into him more in depth in a second, is Cade Klubnik. But this whole slide is the slide of the quarterbacks that coulda, shoulda, woulda been first rounders, in my opinion. And it makes it interesting because you see some of the tools, you see some of the ability, you see a lot of different things out of these guys that could maybe excite you, but there's a reason they're not going in the first round, or there's a reason they might not even go in day 2 of a weak quarterback class. I mean, it is a one quarterback class, even more so than last year's class was a one quarterback class because, I mean, people thought Shador was going top 10. I mean, you and myself included, Erik. So
Sure.
to me, this is an even weaker quarterback class, and we're still talking about these guys as extreme lottery ticket, like you're buying a $50 lottery ticket with a $100 bill and they're keeping it type of lottery ticket. So to me, Nussmeier is interesting. He's got some of the pedigree with his father. People thought he was going to be the real deal. He stuttered and stuttered and stuttered with LSU. Eh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to break down, but I don't see any of these guys really panning out in the NFL in general. That goes for Cade,
Really?
that goes for Carson Beck. In terms of being a tried and true starter, maybe backups. Sure, dude, that's totally fine. That's a hell of a career. It's
Well,
better than my career, but
let's break down Nussmeier a little more succinctly, because he has natural arm talent that just jumps out. He has really good velocity. He shows really impressive touch. He layers those passes between defenders. I mean, I think that we've seen good things from him, and he's a really quick processor when it's his first read. That's where things start to break down for Garrett Nussmeier, because the concern is he has really inconsistent progression reads. He got caught staring down targets often, and obviously that turns into turnovers. That decision making obviously needs some refinement here, but I think he's one of those guys that he has the tools where he could be successful. Like, I don't see any of these as day one starters, absolutely not. But I'm not saying they don't develop into somebody. We've seen a guy, Aaron Rodgers sat behind one Brett Favre. That didn't mean he wasn't going to be a star in the league. And I'm not saying any of these guys are Aaron Rodgers, but what I'm saying is to count them out and just say, yeah, they're a career backup. I don't know that that's the case, honestly.
I I don't know. I don't see it. I think Garrett Nussmeier, this is my biggest take on him. I think he's going to be a guy, and I don't want to compare him to Dylan Gabriel because I don't think that is a just comparison, but he's going to be a guy that coaches fall in love with, much like Kevin Stefanski and Mike McDaniel fell in love with Dylan Gabriel because of his ability, because of his ability to really just understand the game of football. But there's a big difference between understanding and application, and I don't know if the application is there for Garrett Nussmeier when you're talking about going past his first read, like you said, basically.
No, that's fair. Let's move on to the final guy on our list, Cade Klubnik. He had quite the shoes to fill at Clemson following one Trevor Lawrence. That's not an easy thing to do to jump into that. He was a three-time state champion, interestingly enough. What's your take on Cade Klubnik, though?
The same thing I've said about Beck and Nussmeier. I'm not going to continue to rehash my own thing. He's a guy that thought could be super high. He's had his ups, he's had his downs in college. He's just none of these guys in the Browns lens, because that's what we're really talking about here is in the Browns lens. None of these guys move me at this point to want to spend draft capital on them with the situation we have at quarterback, with potentially the opportunity to bring someone in like some of the names we mentioned in yesterday's video. Go check that out if you haven't. It isn't the path forward for me this year in terms of what's best for the Cleveland Browns. So to me, all of these names, these guys who could end up being in day two, whether it be two, three, or four, yeah, well, I guess four, no, yeah, two, three, or four, it's just not going to do anything for me. Um, so it's a no for me, dog, just like it is for Beck, Nussmeier, pretty much all of these guys.
What I like about Klubnik is he has, a deep ball touch that I like. He's an athlete too. He's a dual threat guy, and I think that what we've seen from him, he gets the ball out quick. I like that. He's an improviser. I like all of that. He has really good pre-snap recognition. However, I say pre-snap for a reason because his post-snap recognition, he struggles to identify and exploit, some of those coverage changes. That's going to be a tough thing to learn as it gets way harder in the NFL as those coverages are disguised even more. I don't like that, but I do think he has the athleticism to be an interesting project for a team. Again, not for the Browns, but for a team.
So where are you at with this whole situation, Eric? Are there any names here that really stick out to you that you want to go for aside from the crazy situation where we could land Mendoza, which is just not going to happen?
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, and unless, some of these guys like, Chambliss, if he's even in it, falls to very, 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 very late, then maybe we take a flyer and on a pick that doesn't really matter, but I'll reiterate what I said and what you said. We need different positions filled prior to this. If it was a guy that again, if this was a really deep quarterback draft class and we thought, "Okay, this is our franchise guy for the next 15 to 20 years, hopefully more, then yeah, you move up, you do what you need. I don't see that out of anybody, even Fernando Mendoza, who could very well go on to have a great NFL career. He reminds me more and more of Andrew Luck for some reason, the more I watch him. But it's not clear cut even that he will be that stud. That's just the quarterback draft class that we're dealing with here. So yeah, I'm in the same position. Explore every option, explore free agency, explore trades, explore the draft. But to spend draft capital, especially high draft capital, on some of these guys makes zero sense. And if we're doing that, then Andrew Berry has once again lost the plot, because I know I speak to him directly and I say this almost every day: fix the O line, fix the receiver core, and then worry about everything else.
And that's the thing too. Like I feel like we took not one but both of our shots for these mid-round to day 3 guys in last year's draft. You took in Dylan Gabriel, you took in Shedeur Sanders. Those were your shots for these long-term
Which were
development.
stupid ass picks, by the way. I'm not saying like Shador was a bad pick. Obviously, ton of value for where we picked him. But the fact that you took two rookie quarterbacks where you took that, like Dylan Gabriel was taken so high in the draft compared to where we could have gotten him.
The Amari Cooper pick, man.
That was just such a frustrating experience because it seems like there's such a lack of strategy. Like, please, somebody explain to me the strategy of taking two quarterbacks, two rookies, and now it's looking like, hey, we really need to dump one of these guys. Cough, Dylan Gabriel, cough. Like that's so dumb.
That's your boy Andrew Berry for you, man. He can't pass a bargain when he takes the guy he wants or his coach wants, and Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, who was thought of to be a first round talent, falls all the way down to the 5th round. He's got to take his swing, and I don't think it's a miss yet. I don't think either of us think that. I think that there's a lot of chance for Shedeur to grow in this league. It's really interesting. But you know what else is really interesting to me, Eric?
What's that?
A name that you just decided, what, like, was the graphics department lacking? Like were you underpaid this week? What's going
I
on, man?
knew you would bring this up. I told you before we went live yesterday and today, not live, but you get what I'm saying. I told you that we would have 6 names per day. So how many names did you send me for today's show?
Well, the guy deserves his own slide, man.
You
That's just
sent
my
me
opinion.
7, and I
The
was not putting together an extra slide for who?
Drew Aller, our day 3 swing this year, baby. If he falls to picks rounds 5, 6, or 7, I'm all the way in on him, because at one point I was determined in full belief that the hometown kid was going to save the Cleveland Browns. And then we got to see what he did at Penn State and not grow whatsoever. But I'll take a swing on him. He's got the intangibles. I say a lot of this as a joke just to mess with Erik, might I add.
I will say I like that, he's from Medina, that's cool. I like that he has a decent NFL, that prototypical frame that you talk about with the
Yep.
NFL. Um, he has some poise under pressure and keeps his eyes downfield. The mechanics break down. He is inconsistent.
Yep.
There's a lot of issues here that he can improve on. Again, a late round as a project guy, sure, maybe. Um, but
I'm putting
I
my
won't.
hat in the ring, man. I'm putting my hat in the ring. Not because I think he is the savior or I think he's worth every penny. No, everything you said about him is 110% correct. I'm with you. But I would love for us to spend a day 3 pick, a late pick on him. Why not? He's got the intangibles. Let's see if we can mold him with whatever young offensive mind we bring in to this team.
And that's the thing you got to remember about drafting a quarterback. It's not about the very best guy in college. Troy Smith was a Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State. That does not mean that he would translate well to the NFL, which, to be fair, I don't think he got a great shake. But that doesn't mean that they're going to translate well. What the NFL wants and what scouts look for are things that you can't coach. So, arm strength, talent, that sort of thing, so that they can mold these guys into somebody. You can teach reads, you can teach progression. Like that's going to come along with experience. They want the physical tools and the mental, I guess, capacity, for lack of a better way of putting it, to eventually grow into that. Not necessarily, hey, he won the Heisman, he won a natty, he's the best of all time. I mean, yes, I think Mendoza's a good pick, don't get me wrong.
Right.
Um, but some of these guys that we talk about, like a Drew Aller, don't forget where Tom Brady was drafted. Don't forget where Brock Purdy was drafted. And I'm not saying that this is the case here, but to get so caught up in what happened in college, I think is fool's gold.
No, it's fool's gold both ways too. Getting too far in love with intangibles and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see how this draft class pans out, what it means for the Cleveland Browns, what it means for the rest of the NFL. To me, I want to reserve the right to maybe change my mind just a little bit on some of these prospects, depending what happens at the Senior Bowl, the Combine, as we move forward. I think fluidity in your sports talk and in your sports takes is always important because a lot can change between now and the draft in Pittsburgh in April. And that could mean any one of these six names. Well, I don't think anything's going to change for Mendoza, barring like some catastrophic injury or character flaw, because Homeboy is just chilling and enjoying his LinkedIn and celebrating his national championship.
Yeah, which by the way, he didn't add my connection back yet. So Fernando, shame on you. I'm connected with some very high influential people on LinkedIn. So add your name to that.
Listen, everybody, I want you guys to all have a safe weekend. That snowstorm is a brewing around the country. If you're stay in, be safe. Don't drive, don't travel, don't do too many dangerous things. It's always go Browns over here. It's always go Cleveland over here, man. Eric, hit your note, man.
Yeah, that's it for us this week. Unless something crazy goes down this weekend in which we have to jump on and update you guys, we will see you Monday. The debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.